Hey friends, it's psychic medium Josh Simons coming to you with your Monday message for March 15th, the Ides of March. So here we are, halfway through the month. I hope everyone is doing well. I have a couple of stories to share with you today that I believe most of us will benefit from, and I hope you benefit from them also. And again, if it doesn't apply to you, then I apologize. Maybe you can pass it along to somebody who it may apply to. The first thing I want to talk to you about is a common theme that I get through a lot of my readings. I get things that pop up over and over and over again. One of the things for me is vitamin C and fish oil. Vitamin C is very important for folks. Fish oil, very important for folks. Unless you're allergic to it, of course. But those things people seem to really benefit from, and it seems like a lot of people don't have enough of them. After I researched vitamin C, I found out that vitamin C is the only vitamin our body doesn't hold on to, right? Where we need a constant supply of it. Our body will hold on to D's and A's and B's and use them as they need, but it's the C's that we constantly need a supply of so we can make the best use of it. And that's just good for our immune system, good for our vitality, our overall health. Now, one of the themes that I hear over and over and over again, and this again is only for specific people and situations, may very well be specific to you. There is a term that spirits use, a title, if you will, for people in families, certain people in families, and I think that we have, generally speaking, as a culture, gotten away from these titles. Now, there's a title that spirits like to use, again, around a certain circumstance, and the title is Keeper of Memories. Capital K, capital M, Keeper of Memories. What I will see is the shoe boxes or the bread bags or the boxes stuffed in a closet somewhere full of all of these pictures from parents, grandparents, what have you. And, I'll see them in my mind as I do. And spirits want them cherished, right? More so than anything. It's the legacy and the heritage of who we are and the energies that our family carries that is very important to spirit. The keeper of memories is a person who is responsible for the memories. And this is, again, something that's a recent development in the history of humanity, because we haven't had pictures for a long time. We've had stories, we've had the written word far longer than we've had pictures. But now we have stories, we have the written word, we have pictures. It's very important to spirit and to the living folks around us that if you have these boxes of old pictures and nobody knows who's in them, right? That's a travesty. If you have boxes of old pictures, I can only recommend that you get some really nice photo albums. Perhaps photo albums where you have little labels underneath the pictures where you can write down names or dates or what situations, events, what have you. Very important to take these pictures, keepsakes, and put them into a place of honor. And then the keeper of memories, whoever that is in a family that holds them, is responsible for passing them down to the next keeper of memories. And it seems like we always have one or two people in a family, that will be that person, right? And I have found myself, I've stumbled onto this circumstance of being the keeper of memories for my family. Not only, my ancestors and my family research and my genealogical research, but I want to be the person that holds on to the pictures. Like my father has a really awful story about almost losing a whole bunch of pictures, and somehow he got them. And these pictures are amazing, right? My grandfather's in World War II. There's mysterious people in the pictures that we don't know who they are, so we're kind of making up stories as to who they might be. But those are the pictures that I want to take and I want to put into books and albums and write down the names of uncle this and aunt this and cousin this and all of these people that would have been ancestors, relatives, and family. Very important for all of us to do this, right? When we honor our ancestors, when we honor our family, we are honoring the strength that lives in our family. This is one of the most powerful benefits that I got from working with my ancestors. Working with my ancestors, seeing their struggles and their challenges and how they overcame them to get me here to this day really made me honor myself, value myself far more than I had prior to that, because I saw all of their struggles, all of their fights to get me to this day. So I want to take, all of those fights, those struggles, and do my best with this life that I can, but I don't want to beat myself up, right? There's all sorts of things that we can do that are unnecessary in the way that we treat ourselves. So I want to do my best here, right? I want to be a descendant that my ancestors can be proud of. And by being the keeper of memories, I can become an ancestor that my descendants can be proud of. So this is my hope for you, is that if you have grandparents still left, if you are a grandparent perhaps, and you have all of these pictures from your parents or their parents, and they're not in a place of honor, put them in a place of honor. Put them in a spot where, the books, albums, what have you, heck, take pictures of them with your cell phone and share them on social media. Scan them if that's appropriate, so you have digital copies in case the worst case scenario happens and those pictures are lost. How can you be a keeper of memories? And this brings me to the second part of this. I recently had a reading with a woman, and it's really interesting how spirits work. I'm very grateful that spirits will push people to me. Humbly speaking, I apparently have a good reputation with the dead, because I do my damnedest to honor everyone that crosses my path and hopefully get them to a better place, right? So I had this woman come in, and she's, I asked her what I ask everybody, how'd you hear about me? And she goes, well, I see you on Facebook and all of that stuff. And she goes, then I had this urging, right? I kept seeing your face, your name kept popping up, and I just had this urge. I felt this urge, this compulsion to get a session with you. And she said, as soon as she got the session with me, she started to cry, right? Because it was like a sense of relief. And I said, that's wonderful, that's miraculous. It happens often. She was there because she wanted to know what these messages were that she was supposed to be receiving. And this was one of the hardest types of readings that I can give. I had to tell this woman that I believe she's going to be around a lot longer than her husband is going to be around. And when it comes to psychic stuff, when it comes to oracle stuff, looking into the future, if you will, we can be made aware of this information for two reasons. One, think of the airplane that crashes, right? Or think of the dream that you have before you take a flight where the airplane crashes. And then you wake up from that dream and you don't go on the plane, and the plane crashes and it saves you. Or perhaps you have a dream or a message somehow delivered to you that, somebody that you love is going to pass away, grandparent, parent, what have you. And that gives you time that message will give you time to wrap your head around that scenario, but it will also give you time to make the best use of that time while you still have it. Now, I had to gently walk around this situation, because I can't just say to this woman, I think your husband's going to die, right? You better get used to the idea. That's awful. So I had this conversation with her, and she confirmed absolutely that her husband is a bit older than her, and his health is not great. He's got, the high blood pressure, the diabetes, all of this stuff, and he's not doing a very good job of taking care of himself, and he's got some pretty severe stuff wrong with him. that message was delivered so she could make the best use of her time while she still had him, of course, right? That little reminder that we need. And to start wrapping her head around the kind of life that she's going to have after he's gone. Part of that message too was, you're going to be alone, and you should do your best to cultivate whatever family you have, because that is the most important thing. The most important reason why we're here is family, community, and friends. That's my personal belief, right? To experience one another, to love one another, to help one another, uplift one another. And it dawned on me in that moment that one of the worst, if not the worst parts about being human is when we're by ourselves. And these situations are attached, right? These circumstances of the keeper of memories and our loved ones who are living by themselves. We need other humans, and this is really where we're struggling now with COVID and isolation and lockdown and quarantine and all that stuff that we are still absolutely needing to go through. We're struggling with that lack of community, that lack of connection. I know I am, right? I want to go see my friends. I want to go have some fun. But we have to be safe, we have to be smart, and we have to honor the time that we're in. Yes. With that said, if you have anybody in your family that lives by themselves, do your best to stay in touch with them. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, what have you. That isolation is some of the most soul-crushing conditions that we could live under, because we need loved ones, we need our friends and family, community, we need other humans. We do. And this presents you an opportunity, because if you are a keeper of memories, it's important to sit with your elders and your seniors, especially those in your family, to get stories. We have an amazing amount of technology in this world, right? Cell phones with recording apps and video cameras and all that. When my gram was still here, I have a couple hour-long videos where I just set a video camera up and recorded her and said, "Hey, Graham, I want to know some stories. Tell me about your childhood. Tell me about that." I know where those videos are. I haven't been able to bring myself to watch them because obvious reasons, right? But I know that they're there, and I know that I can hear those stories, record those stories, pass down those stories. If you have anybody, whether they're living alone or not, stay with them, sit with them, call them, talk to them, record them, get that stuff for perpetuity's sake. That's the right word, right? Even if they're not alone. But if they are alone, they'll appreciate it. They'll appreciate the phone calls. I have a phone recording app on my phone for recording my phone calls. It used to be an old business thing. I just never got rid of it. And I would talk to my grandma on the phone quite often, right? And I have all of these recorded phone calls saved that I can't bring myself to listen to, but I know that they're there. And it's just conversations that we would have had. So please, if you can't be the keeper of memories, maybe talk to somebody in your family who can be. Think about what you can do to honor those pictures, those stories, those memories, those keepsakes. Have a plan set up, formal, informal, what have you, so those pictures and memories and keepsakes can all go down, right? The family. Even if you don't have people in your family, kids, grandkids, what have you, to pass these memories or pictures on to, work with a historical society to get the pictures to them, right? That's a good option. Or sit and hear the stories, hear the history of your family, so you can absolutely learn from those strengths. That's part of the reason why we have stories, is to, whether they're family or not, is to learn from those strengths, to take wisdom and knowledge from them. So please do this. This is vitally important, not just to our living family, but to our deceased family. because they want those types of memories and treasures honored and passed on. And that's how we pass on our strength, right? It's through stories, through wisdom, through circumstances, through all of that. You're here because of strong people, and their strength lives on in you. Stories only help with that. So that's my message this week, is I would love for you to make something like that happen in your family. Great photo albums, great stories, jotting stuff down, genealogy, all of those things. Those are very important to the human condition, especially now with all the technology that we have. 1,000 years ago, the best that we'd probably be able to do is, pass stories down from generation to generation. And it seems like as a majority, we've lost it. And what a shame, right? What a shame. What a shame that, my grandfather wasn't told by his grandfather, who wasn't told by his grandfather, who wasn't told by his grandfather, stories and wisdom passed down, right? That folklore, family folklore, is really important. So consider it, please. Now, what I'd like to do is, outside of that, is, again, folks who watch these videos know that I use runes, that I use tarot cards, I use all sorts of things to help me do what I do here. And today, this week, I am just called to pull a rune and share that wisdom of that rune with you. So, I've got a bag of runes here, wooden chips with symbols on them. Those symbols mean different ideas or concepts. So I'll go ahead and draw one with that intention of bringing wisdom. Okay. All right. When we use tools like runes and tarot cards, and not everybody does, and that's cool, right? But when we do, the best part of using them is coming into relation with them, developing a relationship with these tools, in the way that, you can study runes, you can study tarot, and you can look at what they mean conventionally, right? According to the myths and the poems and the stories about those symbols, right? And you learn from there and you go from there. And yet each of those symbols represents a different idea or concept that's personal to the person that uses them. For me, I'll have circumstances that repeat themselves, and I'll see the same rune or tarot card that pops up when those circumstances happen and adds additional meaning to those symbols. So today, this rune that I want to show you is algaes. So kind of looks like a little crowfoot, bird's foot, right? Or upside down, like a peace sign almost. But it goes like this. And that three-pronged symbol, what that means is protection, right? Protection, essentially. It means a whole lot more than that. But it's a rune of protection, and it's also a rune that speaks to me of grandmothers and grandfathers, but mostly grandmothers. And again, my personal interpretation of this rune. So if you're a rune reader and you're like, what is he talking about? Well, this is how I've come to know that this means grandmothers. When we see this symbol, this represents all sorts of different things. But one of the things that it does represent is it looks like a person holding their hands out, right? Almost in supplication to the powers that be, the great spirits, right? And in ancient times, there were gods, there were deities, there were angels, there was these great big spirits that everybody would work with. But people, generally speaking, would be like, I'm not messing with them because I don't want their attention to come to me, right? To smite me or anything like that. And again, all throughout history, we did have people working with these spirits and what have you. But there's a large amount of Norse culture that instead of working with gods, goddesses, what have you, they'd pay attention to them. They wouldn't often want to get their attention. They would work closely with their ancestors. And what this symbol means to me is not only protection, but I want to ask you something. What's the strongest force in the universe? Outside of gravity and those types of physical forces. I believe the strongest force in the universe, if not what the universe is made up of, is love. Right? And love is all sorts of things. Love is the ability or the desire to nourish and protect, right? And to care for, and love is love, right? Love is love. There's no fiercer energy that I've seen in humans than that of a mother wanting to protect her children, right? So if you're a mom or a dad, right, or a dad, because I have that for my kid, right? Nobody's gonna mess with them if I can do anything about it. I got my own fierce mama bear too. But if you have kids, I know most of you out there would absolutely kill for them without a hesitation, right? That fierce protection, and that's what this represents, right? Protection. That's why I feel this also represents ancestors, because when we appeal to the greater spirits for protection, when we talk about spirit guides or anything like that, generally speaking, those are going to be your ancestors. And that love that we have in life, that doesn't disappear when we die. That willingness and that urge to protect our offspring, our family, our descendants, our family around us, not even our kids, but our parents, our sisters, our brothers, right? That doesn't disappear when we die. It just goes to a different place. Spirits can protect us, absolutely. And that's what this is about. But again, my grandmother was the fiercest woman that I ever met, ever knew. If I needed somebody to protect me, a woman would have done what she absolutely could to help me and to help anyone that she loved. So it's not surprising to see this, rune pop up in terms of ancestors, considering what I was just talking about. So there's a lot of wisdom in that not only are we protected by spirits, but we're protected by our loved ones in life. Who are you protecting? Who are you caring for? Who are you loving? That's not going to go away when you die. It's just going to go to a different place. So, honor those ancestors. It doesn't have to be anything demonstrative. It can just be a brief moment of saying, thank you guys. Appreciate you very much. Goes a long way. Appreciate and honor those that are here with us. Though still, if you have them, you honor them, you love them, you hold them, you learn from them. One of the biggest shames that I've seen is, and I know that we all can see this, when I lost my grandmother, not only did I lose the stories, I lost the wisdom, I lost the smarts, I lost the creativity, right, that she had. There's all sorts of things that generations behind us would have known how to do that we don't know how to do anymore. Sad. It's very sad. So, this is a good project before we get into the swing of summer, right? And you have a little bit of time in these dark months, if you will, to think about this. But this is a good overall project to think about how you can preserve and honor the memories of those ancestors and loved ones that have come before you. So, thank you for this. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me on my journey. I can't say thank you enough. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope this helps. Send it to somebody that might need to see it. Who knows? Send it. I thank you again. I want you to take care. I'll see you next week.